Let's rewind the tape just for a moment. I was going to ask you about SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Right.
You were a member of SNCC. Let's talk about those days because it's really interesting to me, and I've never really met. Well, you knew Stokely Carmichael,
yeah.
Kwame Ture.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I once saw Kwame Ture, or Stokely Carmichael is called back in those days. There's a black and white film of him, not exactly a performance film, but it's one of his speeches. And the, Panther guys are lining the front of the stage. It's all very intense, and he's up there saying some of the most radical stuff. You need a gun to survive America. Black man, wake up. You need a gun to survive America.
And violence is as American as apple pie.
Yes, and we will give the Uncle Toms one chance to come back, like basically into the fold. If not, they gotta go.
Yeah. My favorite statement from that time was, at a certain point, caution becomes cowardice. No slave should die a natural death.
So, coming from all of that, well, what were those times like?
Fun, trying, extremely interesting, dangerous.
Yeah.
And a lot of, one words that you can throw in there, to the point that I remember was it maybe 69, summer of 69, when I was living in the SNCC office, because I didn't have an apartment, so I used to live in the office, and we were just kind of crazy and doing, all kinds of stuff, and we were running a food program for kids down in Atlanta, whatever, that the FBI ended up going to my mom's house in Tennessee and telling her, it's time to get him out of Atlanta.
See, I think that's probably what pissed off Hoover the most and COINTELPRO's. Like, they're feeding their own people? They're giving them enough food so they can be good students? No, we've got to kill them.
Yeah.
I mean, that scared them more than anything.
More than anything, and that it was effective, that little kids, are like sponges, and you can feed them revolution, and they understand it, that you are the future, that, there's no way that this is going to end peaceably, which is what we thought, because we actually used to think, they're coming.
Yeah.
And especially, I remember when Kennedy was killed, that was the feeling in our, neighborhood. They're coming. So everybody had their guns loaded and was kind of in the house looking out. So it was like that, and all that stuff leads up to what all that was. And we were part and parcel of what we thought was the solution and what they thought was the problem. And I remember, wow, the most drastic thing that happened in the summer of '69 was all of a sudden they took all the marijuana and all the hallucinogens were taken out of Atlanta. And the only drug you could buy was heroin. The only drug you could buy was heroin. And we were drug users, so we started using heroin.
Yeah, good planning, get everyone doped up.
People started dying off. People started ODing, dying, just became, useless, worthless junkies. And that was the most effective diffuser of the revolution that they, came up with, and it worked. But to be in what we really thought was a revolution, or was a revolution. I mean, people were dying. I remember when Dr. King was assassinated, I flew from Atlanta to Memphis and marched with, those people that night.
You were an usher at his funeral?
The next, yeah.
Well, what was that day like?
Wow. Pretty solemn. Things had calmed down quite a bit, because I remember the night Dr. King was assassinated, I was at a campus movie. Me, a revolutionary, because I still like movies, but so I was at a campus movie, and the movie was John Goldfarb, Please Come Home. And a guy came in and said, Dr. King has been killed. You motherfuckers are sitting here watching a fucking movie. We need to be in the streets tearing some shit up. No. And everybody's like, all right. We will. Just let us finish watching the movie. It was like that. So we actually finished watching the movie. And sure enough, we went out and tore up our own fucking community like everybody else did. In fact, my roommate got arrested that night. It was the first of many arrests in his life, because he was sort of, he was part of our group, but after that particular night, when he got arrested for the first time, he started getting arrested more and more and more until he got accused of bank robbery. They finally put him in prison for bank robbery, and he spent a lot of time in jail.